Welcome to this presentation about natural history in Bridger Canyon. The following short talks are based on the natural history presentation that was given in Bridger Canyon in May of 2013 by 5 individuals. The first was myself, Ellen Trigstad, on the social economic history of Bridger Canyon. The second was Cliff Montaigne on the geology of Bridger Canyon. Catherine Olson was the third on wildlife specific to the Bridger Canyon area. Brett Davis on raptors, and Steve Eschbach from the Moss program on building connections to the out of doors. The social economic history of Bridger Canyon begins with a famous legend. According to this legend, at some time when Indian tribes hunted and fished in this area, a band of Sioux were traveling through Bridger Canyon, and upon reaching the opening to the valley below, they met a band of Nez Perce, their perceived enemy. 2 days of brutal fighting were followed by a strange third day when the sky turned so ominously dark the tribal members were frightened. Suddenly, from a rock formation at the canyon mouth, subsequently referred to as Maiden Rock, a brilliant light appeared, and the voice of a woman sky spirit spoke to the tribes. They were told the land was beautiful and special, being a ring of snow-capped mountains around a valley, like white beads worn by a maiden. The tribes were told to therefore honor this special land by peaceful coexistence of all tribes. This area became known as a place where all tribes could traverse in peace to hunt and fish. This appreciation of the beauty of this area has continued to be a dominant value which has constrained and influenced the social and economic activity here in Bridger Canyon for the last many years. The landscape has daunting physical challenges. In the mid-1800s, trappers moved through these Indian lands seeking furs but did not reside. By the 1860s, wagon trains traversed Bridger Canyon, taking pioneers beyond the canyon to Bozeman and on. When conflicts between Indians and settlers increased, the military came to Bridger Canyon for lumber to build a fort south of Bridger Canyon for the protection of the settlers. One report from the sawmills recounts the great storms, deep snows, and the isolation. Not until the arrival of a few visionary pioneers who felt Bridger Canyon was so beautiful a place they were motivated to bring their families specifically here did settlement in Bridger Canyon begin. It is noteworthy that the beauty of this landscape drew them here and sustained them in spite of tremendous hardship. Indeed, these resolute and resourceful people valued the unique qualities of this area enough to persist as an isolated, generally self-sufficient community. Assistance with family crises, childbirth, war support activities, social activities, organizational support for church and school building, and much more were largely provided by women in the community who organized into a women's group that has existed for nearly 100 years, now called the Bridger Canyon Women's Club. Social and economic development in Bridger Canyon began, and has continued to be, from the inside out, in contrast to regions where outside social and financial interests move in and make economic and land use decisions. Residents from the first, and to this day, have planted, harvested, and sold their own hay, sheep, cattle, and vegetables. Until recently, the dairy products of the Christie Dairy, of exceptionally high quality, supplied residents as well as sold in Bozeman. Residents planted wheat and eventually set up their own co-op threshing machine operation. Enterprising individuals operated within Bridger Canyon a quarry, which provided rocks for both Canyon and Bozeman buildings, a lime kiln, a coal mine, developed and maintained a telephone line, blacksmith and wagon repair services, built 2 schools, a church, and homes, developed community picnic and swimming areas, and created canyon community music, dance, and other recreational opportunities. Education was highly valued in Bridger Canyon. This can be seen in the efforts to build and support 2 schools. High school students braved the elements to go to Bozeman by sleigh for many decades. Many Canyon students went on to achieve college education in agricultural and engineering degrees, but subsequently returned to the canyon. As road improvements began to occur from the late 1930s and on, in addition to the residential recreation of bicycling, riding, swimming, skiing, among others, the beauty of Bridger Canyon and its geology drew recreational visitors to the canyon. Support by the residents for others to enjoy and appreciate the area has been shown through the creating of a small number of local ski and dude ranch facilities and the building of the original Silver Forest Theater and Camp that later became a Boy Scout camp. By the late 1950s, the main road was good enough to entice people to move to Bridger Canyon and work in town. In turn, students could now be bused to town, resulting in the closure of the 2 schools and the church. However, just like the original settlers, subsequent residents have chosen to remain connected to the Bridger Canyon landscape as a community, rather than as a development area for outside business and resource extraction. Bridger Canyon residents have formed and taken pride in their own fire department to protect the area, have created the Bridger Canyon Historic Preservation Association, which subsequently preserved the Lower Bridger Schoolhouse for canyon residents and visitors alike to use and enjoy, and have formed their own zoning district and property owners association. Many parents still send their children to a local K-8 school near the historic area of Bridger Canyon. The fish hatchery, initiated in 1891 to help preserve the region's fish, continues to educate people about the history and natural surroundings of the area. It has recently welcomed a nature education organization, the Montana Outdoor Science School, which is working with us today in establishing a library of natural history information about Bridger Canyon. All these enterprises had and continue to have the focus of the enjoyment and appreciation of the beauty of this landscape. The one major economic activity that has been from outside the Bridger Canyon community has been the current large-scale commercial timber cutting. In contrast, when a coal bed methane company recently attempted to become established, the Bridger Canyon community rejected their interest as inappropriate for a community which draws people to enjoy and appreciate the natural environment as well as the charm and benefits of farming and ranching. The care and concern for the landscape is also reflected in the oversight Canyon residents have chosen to exercise regarding housing development, which is guided and constrained by the zoning and the BCPOA, the Bridger Canyon Property Owners Association, both of which continue the community involvement in land use choices and their effect on the overall Bridger Canyon community. Even the private development of the base area at Bridger Bowl has had constraints from residents concerned about key areas that affect the larger communities, such as traffic, wildlife and habitat, erosion and stream damage, and water quality and quantity impacts. Indeed, community oversight has helped maintain to date a low demand on groundwater resources in the canyon overall, as dwellings have been generally dispersed and farmers have done modest or no crop irrigation, thus helping to preserve stream and well water. What are the results of enduring community values here in Bridger Canyon? Agriculture continues to provide both economic and aesthetic benefits, as well as maintain the character of the community. The historic connectivity from Yellowstone north has remained viable to date for wildlife. As we look around us, the violent geology of billions of years ago has left its vestiges in the snow-capped mountains in which we hike or ski and breathe the pine-scented air. The soils support beautiful wildflowers, stands of aspens and evergreens, and fields of hay. The creeks and streams carved by millions of years of running water still contain fish and connect to groundwater from which we can still draw. The pristine air above is home to thousands of migrating and local birds that find sustenance and support from the Bridger Canyon landscape, as do many larger mammals that so many residents and visitors alike so enjoy. We, as present-day residents of Bridger Canyon, are part of a historic and enduring identity the culmination of 140 plus years of vision, hard work, and community care that continues through us in the inherent respect of and appreciation for the continuing legacy of this extraordinary landscape.